Poor. Single mom texted the millionaire CEO by mistake. Asking for money to buy diapers, what he did next shocked her. Under the dim light of her small apartment, Emma Baker stared at her phone, her thumb hovering over the send button. The scent of baby powder clung to the air, and the only sound was the occasional creak of the old radiator and her 6-month-old daughter Lily's soft snoring from the bassinet beside the couch. Her hands trembled. She had avoided this for days, convincing herself she could manage. But tonight the last diaper was gone, and she had already diluted the last of the formula too far. Her pride had long been chipped away. Now all that was left was desperation. She typed, "James, I hate to ask again, but I need $40, 0 cents to get diapers and formula for Lily. I get paid Friday. I promise I'll pay you back." Without another thought, she hit send. Regret hit her instantly. Shame surged through her like a tidal wave. She collapsed onto the worn couch, burying her face in her hands. Exhaustion clung to her bones. She had exactly $2.13 in her account. 4 more days until payday. She had already tried every local charity, called in every favor, even pawned her mother's locket. Now, all she could do was ask again, hoping her brother wouldn't ignore her this time. Across the city, in a penthouse bathed in darkness and city light, Alexander Reed sat behind his desk, unaware of the time. A single photo sat before him, a little girl with golden curls, her smile radiant. Charlotte. Gone for 3 years. Today would have been her 9th birthday. He came here to escape that memory, to drown in paperwork and emails instead of silence and grief. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expecting a reminder or email. Instead, he froze. "James, I hate to ask again, but I need $40, 0 cents to get diapers and formula for Lily. I get paid Friday. I promise I'll pay you back." He blinked. It was not for him. Clearly a wrong number. But something about the words hit him hard. The name Lily. The raw desperation. The number that had received it wasn't his usual line. It was Charlotte's old phone number, one he had kept active all these years. It had been hers when she was sick, a way to feel like a grown-up. She had used it to send silly messages and record herself singing. After she died, he could not bear to let it go, so he kept paying the bill. It felt like a thread still connecting them. Now, after all this time, someone had messaged it. He stared at the screen for a long time before typing. "Are you okay?" Emma's phone pinged. She straightened, startled. Expecting James's usual reply, she instead saw a stranger's message. "Are you okay?" Her stomach twisted. She double-checked the number. 1 digit was wrong. She had messaged a stranger. Mortified, she typed, "I am so sorry, wrong number. Please ignore that." She tossed the phone aside, her cheeks burning. Then it buzzed again. She picked it up. A notification. $400, 0 cents received. She froze. That had to be a mistake. She opened the app. It was real. $400, 0 cents. From someone named Alex. Stunned, she stared at the screen. Then a message appeared. "Just take care of your baby." Her mouth fell open. She had no words. She didn't know who this person was or why he would help, but for the first time in weeks, tears welled in her eyes, not from shame, but from a deep, unexpected relief. Across the city, Alex set his phone down, his eyes misty. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," he whispered to Charlotte's photo. "I hope I did something right today." Emma stared at her phone as if it might dissolve in her hands. She read the notification again, $400, 0 cents. Not 4, not 40. $400. Sent without a name, no explanation, just one simple message. Just take care of your baby. She sat in silence for a long moment, her breathing shallow, as her mind tried to make sense of what had just happened. Her instinct screamed that this had to be a mistake, or a scam. But the money was real, already in her account, already available to use. She typed cautiously, fingers hesitating over each word. "I think you sent too much. I only needed $40, 0 cents. I'll return it to you. I'm so sorry again for bothering you. This was a wrong number." She hit send, then sat upright, waiting, holding her breath. The reply came swiftly. "No need. Just take care of your baby." That was it. No name, no questions, no emojis or forced politeness, just quiet compassion, wrapped in 7 simple words. Emma exhaled slowly, staring at the message. Her heart, usually so guarded and battle-worn, trembled under the weight of its sincerity. Who was this person? Why would anyone do something like this for a stranger, especially one who had clearly contacted them by accident? She did not sleep that night, not from anxiety, but from a strange, humming energy in her chest. For the first time in weeks, she could breathe without the sting of fear pressing on her ribs. She held Lily close to her body as they both lay on the couch, wrapped in the same old blanket, and whispered promises into her baby's soft hair. By morning, she had resolved to use only a fraction of the money. She would get diapers, formula, and some basic groceries. The rest she would keep aside, untouched, until she found a way to return it. She stepped into the local pharmacy later that morning with Lily strapped to her chest, clutching her list like a lifeline. The cashier was friendly, chatting about the weather and complimenting Lily's big eyes. As Emma loaded her bags into the stroller, the woman behind the counter suddenly said, "Oh, by the way, you had a pickup order too." Emma blinked. "I think you must have me confused with someone else." "No, it's under your name," the woman said, checking the label. "Emma Baker. It came through our delivery system this morning, paid in full, 2 cases of formula and a pack of eco-friendly diapers." Emma's heart dropped to her stomach. "Who ordered it?" The cashier shrugged. "No sender listed, just says gift. Happens more often than you'd think." Stunned, Emma accepted the package, pushing the stroller home with wide eyes and a heart full of questions. As she unpacked the groceries, she saw a small note taped to the formula box. Just a typed message, nothing handwritten. "Hope this helps. You're doing great." She sank to the floor beside the kitchen table, her hands trembling. 2 days later, a small package arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside was a plush bunny with a ribbon around its neck. Lily squealed in delight the moment Emma handed it to her. Beneath the toy was a card, again typed. "Every little girl deserves something soft to hold." Emma sat in the quiet of her apartment, watching Lily play with the bunny, and finally let the tears fall. She had not cried when her job let her go, not when the eviction notice came, not when she skipped dinner 3 nights in a row to make the formula stretch. She had held it together through months of tightening belts, sleepless nights, and constant guilt. But this unprovoked kindness, this nameless generosity, it cracked her open. It was not about the money. It was the feeling of being seen, of someone somewhere saying, "You matter. Your baby matters. You are not invisible." She pressed her palm to her mouth, trying to stifle the sobs. They came anyway. Across the city, Alex sat in his office again, watching the clouds roll over the skyline. He did not check for a thank you. He did not need one. He had asked his assistant to anonymously send the formula and the bunny. Nothing traceable, nothing with his name on it. This was not about being noticed. It was about doing something he wished someone had done for him and Charlotte during their darkest nights. He closed his eyes and let himself remember the way his daughter used to clutch her stuffed animal when she was scared. He remembered how small she looked in her hospital bed, her tiny fingers wrapped around his. And now, somewhere out there, a little girl was holding a bunny he had sent. It was not a miracle. But maybe it was enough for today. 3 days had passed since the message that had quietly altered the course of Emma's life. She did her best to return to routine, sending out resumes, toggling between job boards and diaper changes. But her thoughts kept drifting back to the stranger who had answered her cry for help. She never messaged again. Something inside her told her to let the moment stand as it was, a rare, unspoiled kindness. So when an email arrived from Meridian Technologies, the company where her brother James worked, she nearly deleted it. The offer was brief and polite, A temporary accounting role had opened, and her resume forwarded internally had stood out. Would she be available for an interview tomorrow at 10? Emma frowned. She had not applied to Meridian. James had not mentioned anything. The whole thing felt suspiciously convenient. Still, it was the only promising opportunity in weeks. She accepted. The next morning she dressed carefully, pulled on her best thrift store blazer, and packed Lily's essentials in a worn diaper bag. She rode the subway downtown with her stomach in knots. The Meridian building was all glass and steel, sleek and intimidating. As she stepped inside, self-doubt surged again, but the receptionist greeted her by name, and she was soon escorted to the top floor. "Please wait here," the assistant said, guiding her into a polished corner suite. "Mr. Reed will be with you shortly." Emma blinked. "Mr. Reed? Not HR?" She sat, adjusting Lily's carrier beside her, brushing a hand through the baby's soft hair as she tried to still her racing heart. When the door opened, Emma stood and froze. It was him, Alex, the man from the message. He looked just as she imagined, tall, composed, streaks of gray at his temples, and a quiet steadiness that filled the space, not intimidating, but undeniably present. "Miss Baker," he said, voice calm, "thank you for coming." You're Alex," she breathed. He nodded. "Let's just say, your message found the right person." She sank back into the chair, heart thudding. "I don't understand. How did you know who I was?" Alex leaned back, folding his hands. "I didn't, not at first, but your message stayed with me, and I remembered your brother mentioning you. Georgetown grad, accounting background. When I saw the number was one digit off from his, I asked internally if we had your resume. You didn't ask James?" "No, I didn't want to intrude." His voice was measured. "We genuinely need help. The role is real." "So was my instinct." Emma looked down at Lily, asleep beside her, Bunny clutched in one tiny hand. Alex's gaze followed, and something shifted in his face, softened. "She looks like her," he murmured, then quickly looked away. "Like who?" Emma asked gently. "Someone I lost," he replied, "a long time ago." He stepped around the desk and knelt beside the carrier, eyes fixed on Lily like she was something sacred. His hand hovered just above her, not touching. "She's beautiful," he said quietly. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Her name is Lily." Alex nodded, emotion flickering behind his eyes. "Of course it is." They stood there in silence, two people bound by chance or something more, and in that still moment, something unseen began to mend. Emma started work the following Monday. The offer had come at the end of the interview, almost as if it were an afterthought, though she suspected it was anything but. 3-month contract to start, Alex had said, with full pay, flexible hours, and on-set accommodations for Lily. She had blinked, stunned. He had smiled gently. "You are more than capable. We are lucky to have you." She wanted to argue, to say she was just surviving, not succeeding, but she had nodded instead, her voice catching on a whispered, "Thank you." Now, on her first day, she stepped off the elevator to the top floor, balancing Lily in one arm and a tote bag full of baby necessities in the other. Martha, Alex's assistant, greeted her with a warm smile and gestured toward a small adjoining room next to the CEO's office. "This is for you," she said, pushing the door open. Emma stepped inside and stopped. It was small but beautifully arranged. A sleek desk with dual monitors sat beside a comfy armchair. A portable crib had been set up near the window. A soft rug covered the floor, scattered with age-appropriate toys. A small fridge stood stocked with baby formula, bottled water, and snacks. On the corner of the desk was a coffee mug already steaming. She touched the mug, warm in her hand, and turned to Martha. "Did you—" Martha shook her head. "He did. Every morning he makes sure it's ready." Emma blinked fast, forcing herself to stay composed. "That's very kind. He prefers quiet kindness," Martha replied before slipping out. Over the next few days, Emma fell into a rhythm that felt both surreal and strangely natural. Each morning, she and Lily took the elevator to the top floor. She worked on reconciling financial reports for a division Alex had asked her to audit. Lily played beside her, cooing on the floor, occasionally dozing in the crib. When Lily cried, Emma would scoop her up, bouncing gently while scanning spreadsheets. But often she didn't have to. More than once, Alex appeared quietly at the door, stepped in without fanfare, and gently lifted Lily into his arms. The first time, Emma had tensed, unsure, but Lily had settled instantly against him, tiny fingers grasping at his tie. "You don't have to," Emma began. "I know," Alex had said softly, "but I want to." There was something in the way he held Lily gentle, reverent, that made her chest ache. He never asked invasive questions, never pried into her past. Instead, he asked about the present. "How did Lily sleep last night? Did you manage breakfast this morning? Need an early break today?" When he noticed her rubbing her temples one afternoon, he came back 20 minutes later with a bottle of orange juice and a pack of crackers. "Blood sugar," he explained, leaving it on her desk without another word. He had her shift shortened the day Lily developed a mild fever, arranged for a car to take her home before she could even ask, left a small box of herbal tea on her desk the next morning. Each act was quiet, precise, almost as if he were listening to something deeper than her words. One late afternoon, after a particularly long day of reviewing confusing ledgers, Emma leaned back in her chair, eyes closed. Lily had just drifted off in the crib, her bunny tucked under one arm. The office was filled with golden light, the kind that made everything seem softer. From the next room, Emma heard a voice, low, melodic, familiar. She sat up, listening. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Her breath caught. She rose slowly and stepped toward the half-open door between her workspace and Alex's office. There he was, standing beside the crib, gently rocking it with one hand, singing softly. His back was to her, but his voice steady and full of something she could not name, wrapped around the room like a blanket. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Emma gripped the doorframe. That song! Her mother used to sing it to her. She sang it to Lily now. She had never told anyone that. She had never told him. He reached the end of the verse, his voice breaking slightly on the last word. Then he turned, saw her watching, and froze. "I'm sorry," he said, voice quiet. "I didn't mean to." "No," she whispered. "Don't stop." They stood in silence, the air between them charged with something neither had planned for. Emma stepped closer, looking down at her sleeping daughter. "She loves that song," she said softly. "So did mine," Alex replied, almost inaudibly, and in that moment, with Lily sleeping and the fading sun casting shadows on the wall, Emma understood something. They were both healing, not perfectly, not quickly, but through the shared presence of a child, a song, and a kindness neither expected. And perhaps that was enough to begin again. It was late Thursday afternoon when Emma noticed it again. The way Alex looked at Lily. It was not just fondness or admiration. There was something deeper, more distant, something that resembled grief disguised as reverence. She had caught him watching once when he thought she was not looking, eyes tracing the curve of Lily's face as if committing every detail to memory. His gaze was not possessive, it was not longing, it was something more complex, like he was seeing two people at once, Lily and someone else entirely. Emma had ignored it at first, but now it was impossible not to feel the undercurrent. It was not uncomfortable, but it stirred something in her. That evening, as Lily played with her bunny beneath the desk and Emma sifted through receipts, her eyes drifted to Alex's office again. His desk was always orderly, but one item never moved, a small wooden picture frame angled perfectly toward him. She had glanced at it dozens of times, never intruding, never asking. But now the curiosity itched. When Alex left briefly for a meeting downstairs, Emma stood and crossed the threshold. She moved slowly, respectfully, stopping just shy of his chair. The photo was of a young girl, no more than 6. Curly golden hair, wide blue eyes, and a smile so full of light it seemed to spill off the frame. She was wearing a sun hat and holding a melting ice cream cone. Emma's breath caught. Lily had that same mischievous curl to her smile, the same nose, even the same tiny chin dimple. "Is that your daughter?" she asked quietly when Alex returned, stepping back as he entered. He paused in the doorway, looked at the photo, then nodded, "Yes." Emma waited, but he did not elaborate. "She's beautiful," she said. He gave her a faint smile. She was. And then he moved past her, ending the conversation. The rest of the day passed normally, but something inside Emma stirred. Not suspicion, not fear, just something unresolved, a quiet note that had yet to resolve into harmony. That night, she stayed late to finish a report Alex had requested. He had already left for another engagement, and Martha had offered to watch Lily while Emma wrapped up. As she organized her files, she noticed the desk drawer slightly ajar. She would not have paid attention except something inside blinked. A soft glow from a phone screen. She hesitated. She was not the kind of person to pry, but something drew her in, not a sense of invasion, but an almost magnetic need to understand. The phone was old, a pink plastic model, scratched along the edges, clearly unused in years. It sat on top of a velvet pouch, screen still lit. She picked it up gently, fingers trembling. One message, still visible on the lock screen. "I miss you, Daddy. I'll see you in my dreams tonight. Charlotte." Emma's heart stopped. Her throat closed. She knew what she was looking at even before she checked the number. She unlocked her own phone, opened her text history, scrolled to the night that had started everything. Her hands shook as she compared the numbers. They were the same. Every single digit, the number she had messaged for help, the number that had saved her and Lily from a night of despair, was Charlotte's. She dropped into the chair, staring at the two phones side by side. The realization washed over her slowly, not with panic, but with awe. It was not chance. It was not coincidence. It was something else entirely. Emma sat there for a long time, heart full, eyes wet. Her mind flashed back to the first message, how broken she had been, how sure she was that no one cared. And yet the response had come from a number tied not to a person, but to a memory. And he had responded, not because he knew her, but because he missed her, because in that moment her voice had sounded like Charlotte's, and somehow, in helping Emma, he had reached for his daughter one last time. When Alex returned, later that night unexpectedly, quietly he found her still sitting there, Lily asleep in her lap, the pink phone in her hand. He froze. Emma looked up at him, her expression unreadable. "It was her number," she whispered. He nodded, unable to speak. "You kept it alive all this time," she said. "I couldn't let it go," he replied, his voice raw. "It made me feel like she was still close." Emma rose slowly, cradling Lily. "She is," she said softly. "She brought us here." Alex looked at her, eyes brimming, and for once did not hide the emotion behind composure. In the stillness that followed, no more words were needed. They both knew. This was more than a mistake. It was a message from heaven, meant for both of them. The next morning the office was unusually quiet. The familiar hum of the top floor seemed hushed, as if even the walls understood something had changed. Emma arrived early. Lily nestled against her chest, not just because of the crisp autumn air, but because sleep had eluded her. Her mind kept circling the truth about the number, Charlotte's number, and the man who had answered her message. She needed to hear it from him. Alex stood by the window when she entered, coffee in hand, staring out at the skyline like he had been there all night. He turned at the sound of the door. "Morning," he said quietly. Emma stepped inside, Lily still bundled in her arms. "I found her phone," she said. He did not flinch. He set the mug down and nodded. "I know. I saw the last message she sent you, and I saw that I texted her number." "Charlotte," Alex exhaled slowly. "That night. When your message came through. I thought just for a second I thought it was her. It sounds crazy, but I really believed it might be a sign, something from beyond. Emma didn't speak, letting him continue. I never told anyone I kept the number. Not my ex-wife, no one. It was hers, and I couldn't let it go. I paid the bill every month like it was some invisible thread still connecting us. Sometimes I even texted it. He looked at her then, emotion rising in his voice. Then your message came. About a baby. About needing help. And I froze. I thought maybe it was Charlotte's way of asking me to do what I couldn't do for her. Emma's eyes welled. You thought it was a message from her. He nodded. I did. I know it wasn't. But it didn't matter, because for the first time that number wasn't just a memory, it was a chance to help someone. Not to replace her, never that, but to be the kind of man she would have been proud of. Emma stepped closer. You didn't owe me anything. I know, he said softly. That's what made it matter. I wanted to. A silence fell, broken only by Lily's soft cooing. Alex looked at her, then back to Emma. I worried I was reading too much into it, letting grief cloud my judgment. But when I saw you and Lily, something clicked. I didn't want to interfere. I just didn't want to let the moment pass. Emma looked down at Lily, peacefully sleeping with her bunny tucked in her arms. When she met Alex's eyes again, it wasn't as a grateful employee or even a woman indebted to a stranger. It was as someone who understood. She stepped forward and wrapped her arm around him. Alex stiffened briefly, then let himself lean into the embrace. His hand gently rested on Lily's back. Emma whispered, Maybe she wanted you to help another little girl, and you did. The words sank deep. He closed his eyes, holding on to them like something sacred. They stood that way for a long time, two people drawn together by loss, held together by something stronger than either of them had expected. When they parted, Alex's eyes were red, but calm. She would have liked you, he said. She would have loved Lily. Emma smiled, brushing away a tear. Then I hope she was with us. That first night, that first message. Maybe it wasn't a mistake after all. Alex nodded. Maybe it was exactly right. And in that quiet room, with morning light washing over them, the past stayed unchanged, but its weight was lifted. In its place, something new had begun to grow. Hope. The shift between them was not sudden. It happened quietly, like the slow warming of spring after a long winter. No declarations, no plans. Just presence, just time. Alex, Emma, and Lily began to fall into a rhythm that felt less like convenience and more like something sacred. Their days followed a familiar script: work in the morning, lunch together in Alex's office or on the building terrace, laughter echoing from Lily's delighted squeals as she crawled between them. In the evenings, Alex sometimes walked them to the subway or called a car if it was raining. On weekends, he invited them to the small park near his apartment, a hidden corner of the city where the trees arched overhead like guardians and ducks gathered at the pond. At first, Emma had hesitated. It felt too personal, too intimate. But when she saw how gently Alex placed a sunflower headband on Lily's curls, how he carried her without effort and spun slowly until she laughed from her belly, something inside her softened. One Saturday afternoon, they sat on a blanket in that park, the sun filtering through the trees. Lily napped on Alex's chest, her tiny hand curled around his finger. Emma watched them, her heart full in a way she had not felt in years, perhaps ever. She fits, she whispered, almost to herself. Alex looked over, his expression unreadable for a moment. Then he nodded. She does. They did not label what they were. There were no titles exchanged, no are we or should we questions. They simply existed in each other's company, like a melody and harmony that had somehow found their way into the same song. Emma had learned not to ask for more than what the present offered. But with Alex, the present kept expanding. Little gestures that spoke volumes. A bookshelf installed in the nursery space beside her desk, a lavender plant on her windowsill, with a note that read, "For calm days and calmer nights." She noticed how he never interrupted her when she was focused, how he brought her favorite pastries without being asked, how he kept a photo of Lily on his desk now, beside Charlotte's. One evening, after Lily had fallen asleep during dinner at his apartment, Alex walked her to the door. They stood in the hallway for a long moment, neither wanting to break the quiet. "There's something I want to tell you," he said finally, his voice calm but intentional. "I changed my will." Emma blinked. "What?" He smiled faintly at her surprise. "I've spent years not knowing what to do with what I've built. I had all this, wealth, legacy, and no one to give it to, and for a while I thought maybe that meant I had failed." He looked down the hall, then back at her. "But now, I know exactly what to do with it." Emma's heart thudded. "I've started a scholarship fund," he continued. "It's named after Charlotte, for girls raised by single mothers. Full education, housing support, mentorship. I want to give them what I couldn't give her." Emma's eyes welled. "Alex, I'm not telling you to impress you," he said gently. "I'm telling you because you inspired it, you and Lily. That first message, what you needed, it woke something up in me, and I don't want that to fade." Emma stepped closer, her voice quiet. "That's more than I can process right now." He nodded. "Take your time." She looked down at Lily sleeping in her arms, then back at Alex. "She would be proud of you," Emma said. "Charlotte, she'd be proud." Alex swallowed, emotion tightening his throat. "I hope so." Then, without speaking, he reached out and brushed a curl from Lily's forehead, his fingers lingering for just a second. That night, Emma tucked Lily into her crib, then stood at the window of their apartment, looking out at the city lights. She thought about the journey that had brought them here. A wrong number, a stranger's kindness, a moment of grace that bloomed into something none of them had planned. She did not know what came next, but for the first time in a long time, that uncertainty did not scare her. Because sometimes, family was not made in a hospital room or defined by blood. Sometimes, family was found in the quiet between two broken people, learning how to hope again. The park was quiet that morning, the kind of soft stillness that only came with early light and reverence. Dew clung to the blades of grass, and the trees swayed gently in a breeze that felt almost intentional. Alex stood beside Emma, his hand resting lightly on her back, while Lily clutched a pink balloon in her tiny fist, her curls catching the sun. It had been exactly 1 year. 1 year since that late-night text. 1 year since a message sent in desperation reached not just a stranger, but a soul waiting to be found. Today was Charlotte's birthday. They had chosen to come here, this small park where they had spent so many quiet moments, as a way to honor her. There was no ceremony, no speech. Just them. Just love. Emma helped Lily hold the ribbon tight, while Alex tied a small note to the end. The handwriting was his. "I miss you every day. Thank you for showing me the way back to life. Happy birthday, Charlotte." Emma added her own note. "Thank you for sending us your dad. You gave us a family." Lily babbled softly, not knowing the meaning, but sensing the tenderness around her. They stood together for a moment, Alex crouched beside Lily, his eyes moist but calm. "Ready?" he asked gently. Emma nodded. He guided Lily's hands, and together they released the balloon. It rose slowly at first, then caught the wind and danced upward, bright against the clear blue sky. They watched it until it was just a dot, then a memory. No one spoke. They did not need to. Later that night, Emma sat at the edge of Lily's bed, brushing a curl from her daughter's cheek. The bunny, still loved and slightly worn, lay tucked beside her. Lily blinked up at her, wide-eyed and curious. "Mommy," she whispered, "why did we send the balloon to the sky?" Emma smiled and leaned closer. "Well," she said softly, "a long time ago, before you could walk or talk, Mommy sent a message. It was a mistake. I meant to send it to someone else, but the person who got it, he was the right one." Lily's eyes sparkled. "Daddy?" Emma nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, baby, Daddy." She kissed her forehead. That message helped him remember someone he loved very much, and it helped us find him. Alex stood in the doorway listening, his hand resting gently against the frame. Emma looked up, her gaze meeting his. He stepped into the room and knelt beside them, his voice hushed. "That wrong message," he said almost to himself, "was the first time I felt her again." He touched Lily's hand, his fingers trembling slightly. "You helped bring her back to me." Emma reached over, took his hand, and placed it over hers. They stayed like that for a long time. No need for more words, just the warmth of connection that needed no explanation. Outside the window, the stars began to appear, tiny candles lighting up the sky, and somewhere in that vast stretch above, a balloon carried 2 messages of love and gratitude through the clouds. As Emma turned off the bedside lamp and tucked the blanket gently around her daughter, she whispered into the stillness, a prayer, a truth, a promise. "Sometimes," she said, her voice full of wonder, "a message meant for heaven finds a heart on earth that needs it most." And in the quiet glow of that room, it was clear they had all been found. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of the quiet power of kindness, or made you believe, if only for a moment, that even a wrong number can lead to something profoundly right, then we invite you to stay with us. At Soul Stirring Stories, we bring you true tales and beautifully imagined moments that heal, inspire, and remind us of the goodness still left in this world. Subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming, emotional journeys that will stay with you long after the last word. Because sometimes the smallest stories stir the deepest parts of the soul, and sometimes all it takes is one message. Thank you for watching.